Uh,
Welcome into the Mecca Podcast. It's me, Rover Sports Spencer Grossinger here. We got Ian Jet Central, and then we have a very special guest on the top left. It is our friend UCF Jaguar. I don't even know if I should say your first name, if that's okay.
Yeah, do it. I don't care.
I could say it, so I'll call you Dalton, man. And you guys got a nice win over the Cincinnati Bengals. Welcome into the Mecca. What was the experience like being at Everbank, seeing the Jaguars win? It really looked like that place was packed on television. It looks like a buzz that was not there in years prior.
Oh, well, it was a huge game. Jaguar fans, we were 0-2 at home so far this season, but we were able to watch our team pretty much every weekend win while they're away, and not only win, but win in like great fashion where they absolutely blow out the other team. They just look like the way better team. But, we go into this game. Bengals look like a pretty good matchup for us. We were able to go in there, make Andy Dalton look dumb. Everyone talks about how bad our rush defense is. We held them to 30 yards. We held them to 14 total yards in the second half. Jalen Ramsey, AJ Green fight, that was crazy. The whole entire stands and all the audience was super into that. And of course the Jaguars ended off with a 23-7 victory. So I don't get much better than that.
And so, the AJ Green fight must have just shocked everybody because AJ Green's such a quiet player. And did a part of you being a Jags fan? Did you feel sorry for AJ Green at all? Because Jalen Ramsey just bullied him to the point of causing him to flip out. Because AJ Green, by all accounts, the most quiet guy on the Bengals team.
Well, it was a super weird when it happened just because it was right at the end of the first half. They were basically kneeing it out. So you had a bunch of people, going to the bathrooms or doing whatever they're doing, just, kind of half paying attention. But then all of a sudden, all this ruckus starts, holy cow, there's a fight. And all of a sudden you have all these people together, pound on top. And then we see the replay, and all of a sudden, the whole entire game, I was telling a person next to me, I'm like, look at how much shit Jalen Ramsey's talking right now. He's over there, you can tell, he's out there, pointing at him, and you can tell there's some talk going on. And then they replayed what happened with the fight, where how, Jalen Ramsey kind of pushed him. Then he brings him down at TKO and starts, whooping him. But then you see Miles Jack come out of nowhere and just hit AJ Green in the dick. And it was just, oh, my God, it was so much fun to watch. And, the stands, everyone was going crazy. And it was so fun to watch. And it was, of all people, AJ Green,
Dalton, when the fight first broke out, was it everybody in the stands, were they just freaking out, saying oh, look at the field,
Dude, it was like a cafeteria fight, man. Everyone's oh, yeah. Everyone was all about it, dude. When you get to see, you see at every NFL game, you'll see touchdowns and you'll see cool turnovers, but you don't get to see many fights. You know what I mean? There's only probably 5 to 10 fights in the NFL per year, and just to be able to be at a stadium where that's going on, it was pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, we actually saw a few fights in the stadium, with fans, so that was pretty cool.
Fights.
Yeah.
And also, Cortland Finnegan, when he played for the Titans, would always get involved. So it just seems like the AFC South just loves that type
It's funny you mentioned that because it literally reminded me a lot of the Finnegan Andre Johnson fight, because AJ Green and Andre Johnson, they're both really good dudes, quiet, humble, always about their business, but they go against someone that yaps and talks shit, and they don't hold back. And it's funny, I just remember growing up, I remember there'd be people on my team that are the quietest people, but they would get into these games and they were just all of a sudden a flip switch. So I don't know, it's funny.
And Dawn, I don't know, but you got to watch the Bengals firsthand. Do you just think that it's also a scenario of he's playing with Dalton? It's just he's playing with Andy Dalton. It's just really frustrating there. The offense is just really not a creative offense to really play in. Do you think that factored in maybe them flipping
definitely.
out?
I think AJ Green is frustrated. There were a couple times where he was open, but you just didn't get the ball thrown to him. In the first half, he had one reception for 6 yards. I think that's frustrating him. I think one thing is they're sitting on a lame duck coach right now. If Marvin Lewis is somehow there at the end of the season, then I don't know what the hell is going on over there.
He'll never get fired then.
Yeah, he'll never get fired.
Yeah, the thing is with Cincy is that it's I just feel like they should build around AJ Green and Joe Mixon. Let Bernard go, let Eifert go, get rid of Dalton, It just seems like they're just in such a disarray. Like they have no identity on offense. Their defense is old, so.
Well, they let go of Whitworth and Zeitler, and then they get rid of the guys in the trenches, but they're like want to draft John Ross in the first round, and Joe Mixon in the second round, getting these skill kind of players. It's like, the game of football, I think, is one in the trenches. You know what I mean?
Really I hear you on that, and it's just like kind of like I couldn't imagine being a Bengals fan and just like watching like year after year, like just disappointment after disappointment. Because they have a loaded roster. It's not like they're playing with like Cleveland's roster or San Francisco. Like they have a lot of like really good players. It's just like they can't put it together.
Yeah, their defense is really good. They got some, names on there. They got Geno Atkins, him and Aaron Donald, their best 3 technique defensive tackles in the game. Carlos Dunlap's very good. Burflick. They got
Minter.
Yeah, they got
Pac-Man Jones.
Yeah, Pac-Man Jones.
Kirkpatrick. I don't know if he
Patrick. I almost said Fitzpatrick, but I was like, no, it's not Fitzpatrick. It's there we go, Kirkpatrick. But yeah, they got some talent on that defense for sure.
They do it. It's a culture. It's a culture thing with them, in the AFC North, and they bring in these guys, and they just like can't stay together for the moments of playoffs and everything, and their chemistry is really a concern. And you saw that in the Pittsburgh game. I still think that the quarterback position they're holding back. I don't think they have elite level talent though. When you look at the Bengals, I just think that they're like 8-8, 9-7, just totally a mediocre team.
Yeah, I'd agree on that.
Dalton, I wanted to ask you about one of the biggest storylines of the entire NFL, and this actually hit home for me because Leonard Fournette, fantasy running back here, and about like 12:30, I got this message from Rappaport that Fournette was suspended. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is absurd. And now you're hearing its team picture. Your foot's on the ground in Jacksonville. Is it really just a team picture, or was that the icing on a cake of, like, Leonard Fournette mistakes?
Well, apparently it had been, like, a few different things. Like, he missed, like, a rehab kind of thing. He missed, like, some kind of doctor's appointment. He was, like, late to, like, team pictures. And you know how Tom Coughlin is. You have to be 5 minutes early to everything. I don't think it was only a team picture. I think it was a few other things that led up to that. But, before the game, I was freaking out because I got my FanDuel lineups in. I'm at the state. I'm not having to worry about it. Next thing I know, I'm having to replace this guy, with, other people. But, everyone's just like, what the hell is going on? But it's just amazing the narrative. Like, when that happened, everyone was like, Doug Rowan and Tom Coughlin, they're idiots. You know what I mean? They're not going to play like their best player. And then after they beat them 23-7, it's like these guys are geniuses. You know what I mean? Like they're out here like setting the example, benching their best offensive player, and still whooping the Bengals' ass. And like Burflick comes out there and says Leonard Fournette can beat us, but Blake Bortles can't. But you know what happened? Fournette didn't even play, and they literally got beat by Blake Bortles. So it was pretty entertaining to watch.
Dalton, I have a quick question for you. So I don't know what the contract situation is with TJ Yeldon, your guys' running back, but I know that he could be coming up to being a free agent pretty soon. And I was going to look at him, from a Jets standpoint and kind of just evaluate him. I don't really know what he wants with money and stuff, but from what I've seen from him, like he's definitely not like an every down top 5 back. But I think he's a pretty good third down back. And for the Jets standpoint, I would like, a running back like that. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah. And when it comes to the contract, he was a part of the 2015 NFL draft. So, he'll have another year left on his contract after this. But TJ,
okay.
His first, he didn't really perform well in that, bell cow role that they were wanting him to. They were wanting him to be, when you draft a guy in the second round, I don't care what you want him to be your bell cow. You want that guy to be getting the ball every time. But you know what I mean? What some of the stuff that held him back, it don't really have breakaway speed. His vision didn't look very well at the beginning, but now like these last couple of games, he's done really well. I like his like change of pace. He was able to, spin out of trouble and get, gain some yardage. He doesn't really fumble ever in his career. He's only had 2 lost fumbles, one of them being last game against the Bengals. But, he's good. He's really good in pass protection, which makes him a good third down guy, and he can also catch the ball well. Like with Yeldon, you're definitely getting a good, like, third down running back kind of player. You just, he's not a starting running back, but, he doesn't have to be. There's so many successful running backs out there in the NFL that, don't pride themselves on being that, every down back.
Right. Okay, I got you.
So Deshaun Watson goes down. Houston loses. I mean, it's looking like you guys and the Tennessee Titans right now. The Titans were able to beat the Baltimore Ravens, but not in a convincing manner. I really think that the Jags have to make the playoffs this year with the way that it's shaping up. And then you guys will have a very difficult decision with Blake Bortles. So maybe we'll find out everything about Blake this season.
Yeah, one thing that's really, really interesting is the very last game of the season, the Jaguars play the Titans. So that could very well be for the division. I mean, I honestly think the way the season's going to shape out, both of the teams have super easy schedules. They play, the other AFC South teams. They play the AFC North, which really only the Pittsburgh Steelers will scare you out of there. They play the NFC West, which, they got the Cardinals and 49ers over there. The schedule's not too tough, but I really think that one of these teams is going to be the division winner. I think the other team will get in with a wild card. But, Texans, they're out of it without Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, he was putting up all kinds of numbers, and they were only like 2-2 or 2-3 with them in there. You know what I mean? Like, their defense took some heavy hits with losing guys like Whitney Merciless and J.J. Watt. But, yeah, I mean, it's definitely between the Titans and Jaguars. And you look at the AFC and you wonder, like, who are the elite teams now? You know what I mean? Like, the Patriots will always be the Patriots once a playoff come. Chiefs look like they're turning downward a little bit. You've got the Steelers. They're a pretty good team, but we already whooped their ass. So, I mean, it's interesting to see the AFC. I mean, you don't have the Raiders playing like you thought they would. So
no, and Buffalo's very flawed. I saw Buffalo up close and personal. I thought Buffalo was real. I don't know if you guys played them at all this year, but, if you could stop their running game and just make Tyrod one-dimensional, I just think Jacksonville's defense is better there. But going to Pittsburgh, there's just something so difficult about winning there in the postseason. And you saw Matt Moore and how awful that Dolphins-Steelers game was last year. Ooh. I think Arrowhead, I'm not really afraid of Alex Smith, but I think it's still Tom Brady. It's still Ben Roethlisberger. And Denver's disappointing. Oakland, I don't trust. So you're absolutely right. I just think that it's going to be hard. Pittsburgh and New England, I'd still say.
Like the NFL, it's definitely top heavy at the NFC. I mean, you're the best teams out there, are in the NFC with the Vikings are looking pretty good. Rams, Seahawks, Eagles, even like Cowboys. The Saints somehow, like, what the hell is on? Like, literally, the NFC South is literally like flipped upside down from what you thought before the season.
Yeah. Tampa Bay, I mean, with Jameis Winston, that pregame speech is getting just around the at Florida State, I like how Jameis Winston's like willing to take those chances. But Dirk Cutter, I mean, what a different storyline like this season is turning out for the Tampa Bay Bucks. They are a complete and total mess, Mike Evans, they just are an emotional train wreck.
Yeah, it's bad over there. Go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, we got him next this upcoming week, this Sunday, and Jameis isn't playing. So Fitzpatrick's playing. So it's kind of weird because it's like Fitz is playing against his old team. And then like a couple years ago, McCown was the Buccaneers quarterbacks. So, I mean, you're looking at it, it's like, two journeyman quarterbacks going up against, their former teams. And, word actually broke today that Mike Evans isn't going to be playing. So, I mean, the Jets better win this game, if you want to make the playoffs. So I think it's a must win.
And the Jets can get in. The Jets Jaguars.
Yeah,
could you imagine that?
We're going to that game. If that goes down, we're going for sure.
Oh yeah, it's only 2.5 hours north of here, so let's do it.
Dawn, I wanted to ask you like one more question before you jet out, and man, thanks so much for coming on. The Mecca, man. We always want to get you on here to talk about anything and everything. Scott Frost, UCF. I think he's an incredible coach. I don't know if he'd go to the NFL level. Where will Scott Frost be next year? How legit is Scott Frost? And do you think that there's enough students at UCF that can go to the games to somehow keep him at UCF?
Well, I mean, I hope to God he's at UCF next year. A lot of people are obviously drawing the obvious comparison to putting him at Florida, which, it seems like it'd definitely be a good fit and everything. But I look at the Florida job, and I don't think it's as attractive as you would think it is, just because they're about to hire their third coach and they need to hit on this hire. One big difference between McElwain leaving and when like Ron Zook and Urban Meyer left was those other two guys left the next coaches with defenses full of NFL talent. Now McElwain's leaving this thing, bone dry. There's not much. The Gators facilities, they aren't up to par. Like, the Florida Gator fans are just so spoiled. All they want to do is like win. They have no patience. I think Scott Frost, like, Florida fans will want him. I don't think he'd want that job. Like, I think if Nebraska opens, he could like jet up there. But I mean, I think like Scott Frost, I hope he stays at UCF. I think with these recent playoff rankings that have been coming out, like they're number like 18 2 weeks in a row. Like, I'm hoping like maybe with them, he just literally had a newborn baby this morning. So hopefully he doesn't want to move like a month or two after that. Sure. I hope he can stay another year because, UCF potentially going to the playoffs, it might be a 2-year project where they had to go undefeated 2 years straight and, try to get themselves in there. But I love his offense. I think it's a perfect offense for, just college football, especially down in Florida where you get all this like recruiting out of all this speed down here. And, Scott Frost is a great coach. Hope he stays another year, but, I'm not going to bet money on it or anything.
SMU. Who's the quarterback at UCF?
Mackenzie Milton.
Okay. Is he? You
got to check him out. First of all, every time I watch him, I literally think he looks just like you. He literally looks like you. But
really?
Like
he's tiny.
The dude's really, really good. I think he's like a Heisman final. Like he's in the Heisman race right now. Like he's not going to win it just because he's at UCF. But he's great for the system. Really good completion percentage. He leads the number one offense in the country. You know what I mean? This team's putting up points every damn week. So really good quarterback.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like all I hear is, Golden Knights this, Golden Knights that. But, like, they never – or I guess the national media never really singles out any players, which makes me think, like, either, it's just all on Coach Frost or it's just such a good team effort and they're just blowing teams out of the water, as a unit as opposed to, like a Saquon Barkley in Penn State. You don't really hear Trace McSorley and these guys. You basically just hear Barkley. But when it comes to UCF, it's just like you never hear one specific player, which I find is kind of weird, but it is what it is. It's cool.
Yeah, they have some talent. Every year they have guys go to the NFL. You have guys in the NFL like Latavius Murray, AJ Boye, Blake Bortles, obviously, Rashad Perriman, even though he's not doing very well. But, Shaquem Griffin got drafted in the third round of the NFL draft this year, and he's over there in Seattle playing nickel cornerback over there, and he's playing very well. Yeah,
Brandon Marshall.
Yeah, Brandon Marshall, Dante Culpepper. They have good players that went to the school and everything, but, Mackenzie Milton's really good. They literally had the fastest player in college football right now with Adrian Killens. He's super fun to watch. He looks like – reminds me of, Tariq Cohen's nickname, the human joystick. But, it's just fun stuff to watch for sure. But hopefully Scott Frost will stay at UCF.
When you guys killed Memphis, that was the appealing game. Like that was like, wow, UCF is so legit. And I just love Scott Frost. He just brings that energy. I think he'd actually be a pretty nice hire, but I for Florida, but I see Chip Kelly and that arrogance going to Florida. I don't know if you kind of have hate towards Florida, Dalton. I just think that their fan base, too, expects too much. They've always kind of won, whether it been with Urban and whatnot. But I kind of just see Chip's attitude at Florida, like, really standing out for that job.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting hire. Like, I don't know if they'd want to go Chip Kelly route just because I do think he wants another shot at the NFL. And, I think they want to hire a guy that will help build something there as opposed to, playing there for a couple of years and jetting off somewhere else. But
And Muschamp left Florida with the defense. That's the point. Like, I don't think McElwain is well there at all. And also Antonio Callaway, it'll be interesting to see if he gets drafted after he essentially used like $3,000 of textbook money to just buy whatever he wanted.
He'll go somewhere. A team will give him a shot, and he might go fifth, sixth, seventh round. We'll see. I
know a perfect location for him.
Where's that?
Jets.
Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, they'll take him up.
He'll fit in there perfect, man. But Scotty Frost, apparently he has a kid, so maybe you're spending a lot of time with Scott Frost then. We're getting inside scoops here on the Mecca.
Yeah, you want him to come in? Hey, Scott, come over here.
We'll take
Scott
it.
Frost,
You got anything more for our boy UCF?
Nah. I guess I'll just add on to what you guys were saying as far as Chip Kelly. I think Kelly's best fit would be for Tennessee, and I think if Florida wants to go like that spread, that hurry up, they should go with the Helfrich because he's available too. Obviously Chip Kelly's predecessor at Oregon. So I don't know. I mean, Spence, you alluded to it before in previous videos where you said that Dan Mullen could be a nice name for UF. I mean, that would be really cool for them.
I think Dan Mullen is like the base hit kind of hire. Like, I think if you get a guy like Scott Frost, he could be a home run hire, but he could also be a huge strikeout. You know what I mean? I think with Dan Mullen, that's the safe route. He's usually has 8 and 4 years every year at Mississippi State. And if he goes over to Florida, he's a lot more, got access to a lot more talent. I think that Dan Mullen's a safer hire, but, like you said with the guy from Oregon, Scott Frost actually was the offense coordinator at Oregon before he went over to UCF. So they have about the same kind of system, but
I don't really like Helfrich that much, to be honest. I think he's kind of a Marcus Mariota kind of beneficiary. But Dan Mullen would ball because he had Fitzgerald. He was there with Urban, right, as the OC with Tim Tebow. He has Nick Fitzgerald now. Their quarterback position would just be fantastic. He's a guru. I think Dan Mullen would ball at Florida with the resources there. To make Mississippi State decent is crazy. But go ahead, Ian.
Yeah. He. All I was gonna say was he had Dak Prescott too. At college. So I mean, that's just another name that he can add on his resume.
The Dak attack. Dawn, thanks so much, man. Check out UCF Jag. Thanks for joining us, my friend, on the Mecca.
All right, later, y'all.
Yep, we'll
Later,
see.
Man.
Hey, now it's me. It's me and Ian now. We're back. I want to thank Dalton for stopping by. He balled out on the pod, didn't he, Ian? He was awesome to have.
Yeah, awesome. Answer some Jaguars question. It's always good to see that, because I don't really know too many Jacksonville Jag fans, and it's always good to hear insight from a true diehard Jaguar fan, not just some bandwagon fan because they're good all of a sudden.
And he's living in that culture, He is Jacksonville Jaguar football and everything, so it's awesome to get him in. What just happened, Ian, was I was watching ESPN recently. And I don't know if you were, but the college football rankings were just released. I don't know.
No, I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Who's the I'm assuming the top 4 stayed the same.
So
correct?
Notre Dame and Clemson are in the 4, but then you have Oklahoma and TCU on the outside looking in, and then Wisconsin. So what do you think about that? Do you think Oklahoma got shafted being out of the top 4?
I look at the committee favoriting Clemson. I think Bama deserves a spot right now. I think Georgia deserves a spot right now. I think Notre Dame's resume kind of speaks for itself, and you have to put them in because I think what they've done this season, I think it speaks volumes, and their only loss is to a top 4 team in Notre Dame. So I think Notre Dame's in there. Or they didn't lose to Notre Dame, but they lost to Georgia. So those 3 are pretty much set in there. But as far as Clemson goes, personnel-wise, they're pretty damn good. But yeah, I would really look at Oklahoma, and I would switch the Sooners with the Tigers for sure.
If the Sooners and Clemson lined up on a neutral field today and played, who would win the game?
It's a tough call because Clemson's defense is just so good. And I guess you can make the argument that, the only reason why the Tigers lost was because Kelly Bryant, their QB, got hurt and had to leave the game. But, on a neutral field, I think the Sooners would win. I think the Sooners in a close matchup.
You know, it's funny. I still think about the game, the Orange Bowl 2 years ago, where that wasn't even competitive, where Clemson's athletes just ran Oklahoma off the field. And to tell you the truth, like Clemson, their defense is just so clutch. What they did to a solid Auburn team, like taking Jarrett Stidham, and almost by the time the game was over, I couldn't believe Jarrett Stidham could walk because they had like 10 sacks in the game. Then they went to Louisville, and that was a team that was before the whole Patino thing happened where Tom Jurich got fired. So that game was electric. 8 o'clock, you know, at the KFC Yum Stadium there in Louisville, and they shut down Lamar Jackson. They go to Blacksburg, one of the toughest environments to play, and beat Virginia Tech. Full disclosure, I'm a much bigger Oklahoma fan than Clemson because I like Baker Mayfield. I feel there's a lot of Clemson bandwagoners. I'm a little tired of seeing them in the playoff. But I have to admit, man, after watching the Sooners defense, Clemson's caliber of athlete just seems like 2 stars better than Oklahoma's.
I do agree with that statement. You know, you look at the Clemson defensive line, I think it's better than Alabama's. I think it's better than Georgia's. I think the players on that Clemson defense as a whole, there's just a lot of players that are going to be playing on Sunday. As far as, you know, teams, though, like when you're looking at from top to bottom, Oklahoma and Clemson and who they played, who are they going to play? I think Oklahoma has a better resume. I mean, they beat in Oklahoma State. That's a great team.
Yes.
You know, you look across the Big 12, they beat the Texas, you know, they're on a big – thing. I know they got TCU this upcoming week. Texas Tech is never just some slouch, you know, so it's always a shootout with them. I think Oklahoma and the Big 12 is just like a gauntlet, and if Oklahoma can get out with 1 loss, and the Big 12 included the championship game. I mean, so now it's just 1 extra game because that was always the flaw with the Big 12, you know, in recent years is that, you know, they're going to have 1 less game than everybody else. And that win can propel you because it would be like a top 10 win. So I think when it's all said and done, the Sooners should get in, send Baker off on a good, you know, this is a senior year, last year of eligibility, let him ride. And if the Sooners, you know, win out with wins over notable teams, I think the Sooners should get in over Clemson. But, you know, you never know because Notre Dame can go ahead and lose this week to Miami, and now all of a sudden
that would just make a cake. That would make a piece of cake. Unfortunately, like this software says, like we have 10 minutes left because this conferencing like might cost some money or something. You know, like if we're on for like more than 50 minutes, so we're gonna do some rapid fire here. I think Baker Mayfield, if he didn't get into the playoffs, I would really feel sad, feel awful because that's the reason he came back. You would not hear the end of it from that guy. I mean,
yeah,
could you imagine the reaction from Baker Mayfield if that happened?
And, you know, I will say this, though. If Oklahoma loses another game, say to TCU or whoever, I don't think they should get in, you know. But if they finish the season strong and they're going to have notable wins, I think they're a top 4 team. I mean, I think we should just be real here.
Wisconsin. I think it speaks volumes about the Big Ten West and where we are now with this conference and everything. Like, I look at Nebraska, man, and I think Nebraska, like, I know that the Big Ten has better academic schools than the Big 12 does, but that move to the Big Ten West, I think that the biggest issue with, like, Nebraska recruiting is they literally are going up against, like, Northwestern, Illinois, Purdue. Like, the Big Ten West has almost nobody. And look at Wisconsin right now. They are going undefeated in the Big Ten, and they are going to be on the outside looking in. I mean, that just speaks volumes to where that division is in that conference and everything.
I definitely agree with you in regards to Wisconsin. I think they should be on the outside looking in. You know,
even if they go undefeated, they can't control the schedule.
They'll be put in. If they go undefeated, I don't see a scenario where they get left out.
Really?
Even though I mean, I don't think you can leave an undefeated Power 5 team out of the college football playoff. That's what I think the committee is going to do that. I personally would leave them on the outside because it's basically just granting a pass to, or I guess to say to teams, hey, schedule your thing easy as hell because, you know, all you have to do is just go undefeated and you'll get in. I personally would switch up the playoff. The whole thing. Maybe get 6 teams in there, but that's a whole nother video. So we'll get into that next week.
I kind of like the cool thing is like these games though, by keeping it at 4, like this Auburn Georgia game and the Clemson or Notre Dame Miami. The Notre Dame Miami game is already a playoff game. So the argument for 4 though is that we're having these very stimulating conversations, and if it was 8, there wouldn't be drama. I think it would be crazy. I think if Wisconsin goes undefeated, but you still have UGA, Alabama, Notre Dame, and 1 loss Clemson and Oklahoma, I don't think Wisconsin is getting in. Right now they're like at 8 or something, and that's going to cause also some, Paul Chris to go off.
That would be totally like something to see what happens with Wisconsin.
I'm kind of rooting for that, for the chaos factor.
Okay. Here's my idea on like what I was thinking for the college football playoff. Let me run it by you. You tell me what you think.
Sure.
So as opposed to 4 teams being, it's up in the air and like it's a weekly poll by a bunch of people in a room, and it's just their opinions. How about it's 6 teams? With the winners of every Power 5 conference, so like Pac-12, SEC, ACC, you guys know it, and then the best group of 5 team. So those 6 teams, and then the best 2 teams get a bye.
I love that, and then you have a semifinal. No, and then you have quarterfinals.
Right, and I think that's just a fair because every conference will have a spot. Even the group of 5 teams, so you're never going to have the argument of like the Western Michigan or Houston. Those teams that say, "Look, we're undefeated. We just want a shot." They're going to have their shot. Every conference has have
one wild. No, but then guess what? UGA could go undefeated and lose to Alabama and not get in.
Well, that's the price. That's the price they pay. You got to win. If your conference is good, you have to perform good.
Mm-hmm. Guess what? We got about 3 minutes left before it's telling me that I have to upgrade the software.
Okay, it's all good.
Sure what's going to happen with the next video. I almost am willing, Ian, by the way, tomorrow night, like I'm almost willing to talk about the whole Giants thing on like another podcast.
Tomorrow night, just plan on it because we can always do it tomorrow night as well.
We can look at like this Zoom and like see if we can upgrade and things. But I think like talking about college football, ending it tomorrow night too. We got to look ahead to Jets Bucks. We got Bills Saints that I think is a very good game. Real quick, final minute of the show. What games are you looking forward to next week? Before we
Bills Saints
tomorrow.
Bills Saints. I think the Bills will take it. I think the Saints will come back down to earth. What about you?
How about Cowboys Atlanta? I still think Atlanta at home a little scary of a game for the Dallas Cowboys.
Falcons are in total disarray right now. I like the Cowboys.
Did you see Julio Jones's drop?
I did. That's on him.
Oh man, what is going? Maybe it's just Sark or something.
Well, the ball was thrown a little too high, and he had to slow down when he was running. So I think that messed with him. And because when you start slowing down as you're running, you get uncomfortable. So
here's another question. Last question: is there any chance Kyle Shanahan leaves after 2 years? Like, is there any chance he gets dismissed if they either go 0-16 or next year's awful too?
I mean, there's always a chance, right? Especially in this day and age with everybody wanting everybody fired so quick. There's no patience. UCF Jaguar alluded to that earlier. I think next season if they go 0-16, which I don't envision happening, and John Lynch is throwing money at this roster and he still goes 0-16, maybe. But I think as of right now, the Niners are going in the right direction, and I like Shanahan as a coach.
And I have a ton of faith as well. Ian, man, it was a blast. And UCF, thanks. That's the Mecca. We'll see you guys tomorrow.